The spotlight cuts through the smoky haze like a golden blade. December 8th, 1963, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Inside Harrah's Club Casino, 2,000 people hold their breath as the most recognizable voice in America caresses the microphone. Frank Sinatra, old blue eyes. The voice stands bathed in amber light, his tuxedo crisp, his presence magnetic. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. His voice floats across the packed room like silk over steel. Women clutch their pearls. Men lean forward in their seats. This is vintage Sinatra, confident, untouchable, the king of his domain. But tonight fate has other plans. 20 miles away at Harrah's Lodge, 19-year-old Frank Sinatra Jr. adjusts his tie in the mirror of room 417. The kid's got talent, everyone says so. But living in the shadow of a legend isn't easy. While Dad commands stages across America with his Rat Pack buddies, Junior's still fighting for his own spotlight, his own identity. The knock at the door comes at 9:15 p.m. Soft, almost polite. Room service thinks Frank Jr., not bothering to check the peephole. Big mistake. 3 men stand in the hallway like shadows made flesh. Barry Keenan, 23, desperate and broke. Joe Amsler, the muscle. John Irwin, the getaway driver. Their eyes are cold, their intentions darker. You're Frank Sinatra's son, aren't you? Keenan's voice cuts through the silence like broken glass. Before Frank Jr. can react, the glint of steel catches the hallway light. A gun. His blood turns to ice water. You're coming with us, now. The hotel corridor stretches endlessly as they walk. Frank Jr. Legs feel like lead, his heart hammering against his ribs. Elevator down, through the lobby, past unsuspecting guests sipping cocktails and laughing at jokes they'll never remember. Out into the Nevada night where a dark Chevrolet waits like a mechanical predator. Blindfold.
Engine roar.
The smell of cigarettes and fear. They're heading south toward Los Angeles, but Frank Jr. might as well be traveling to Mars. Back at the casino, Sinatra's in his element. The crowd eats up every note, every gesture. He's telling a story through song, painting pictures with his voice. This is what he was born to do. This is Mr. Sinatra. The hotel manager bursts backstage, his face white as fresh snow. Sir, we have an emergency. Time stops. The music continues in the background, but Frank's world tilts sideways. In 30 years of performing, he's seen everything. Hecklers, fires, power outages. But something in the manager's eyes tells him this is different. This is personal. What kind of emergency? It's your son, sir. He's gone. The words hit Frank like a freight train. For a moment, just a moment, the great Frank Sinatra stands frozen, a deer in headlights. Then survival instincts kick in. The show must go on, not tonight, not when his boy needs him. He walks back onto the stage, and 2,000 faces turn toward him expectantly. The orchestra holds their instruments, waiting for his cue. But Frank Sinatra, the man who's never been at a loss for words, struggles to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice cracks like thin ice. Tonight's show ends here. The silence is deafening. Confused murmurs ripple through the crowd like stones thrown in still water. Frank doesn't explain, can't explain. He simply drops the microphone, the one tool that's never failed him, and walks away. The great showman has left the building. Back in his suite, Frank becomes a caged animal. He paces, smokes, stares at the phone like it might explode. FBI agents materialize from the shadows, stone-faced professionals with clipboards and protocols. They transform his sanctuary into a command center. But Frank feels more powerless than ever. Hours crawl by like wounded creatures. Every tick of the clock echoes in his skull. Every phone ring sends electricity through his nervous system. False alarms, dead ends, wrong numbers. Then it comes, the call. Frank Sinatra. Yes, God damn it, this is Frank Sinatra. Where's my son? He's safe for now.
Oi!
But if you want to keep him that way, you'll need $240,000.
Small bills. No cops.
240 grand, nearly 2 million in today's money. For Frank, it might as well be pocket change, but the FBI has other ideas, protocols, procedures. They want to trace every bill, catalog every serial number. I don't give a damn about your protocols, Frank snarls. That's my boy out there. But they insist, and Frank grudgingly agrees. His people fan out across the country like a covert army, bank to bank, city to city, collecting small bills, ones and fives and tens, mountains of paper money that feels like blood money. Frank will carry loose change for the rest of his life, a reminder of these desperate hours when every penny mattered, when his fortune felt meaningless without his son. 54 hours. That's how long Frank Jr. spends in hell. He's blindfolded in a cramped house somewhere in Los Angeles, listening to his captors argue about movies and baseball like this is some kind of sleepover. Barry Keenan even admits he's a fan, calls Frank Sr. the greatest entertainer who ever lived. The irony is bitter as poison. Frank Jr. thinks about his father, the man who conquered Vegas, who made grown men weep with a single note, who partied with presidents and kings. Surely a man that powerful can save one terrified kid, right? He holds on to that thought like a lifeline in a hurricane. Back in Nevada, Frank soon is coming apart at the seams. He's faced down mobsters and music executives, critics and competitors. But this is different. This cuts to his core, to the part of him that exists beyond fame and fortune, the part that's simply a father. The FBI works their magic, tracking serial numbers like bloodhounds following a scent. The kidnappers, it turns out, are amateurs, kids playing a dangerous game they don't understand. They make mistakes, leave trails. And finally, the phone rings with the voice Frank's been praying to hear. Dad, it's me. I'm okay. The relief hits Frank like a tidal wave. His knees nearly buckle. In that moment, he's not old Blue Eyes or the voice or the chairman of the board. He's just a father who thought he'd lost his son and found him again. Frankie? Jesus, are you hurt? Where are you? I'm fine, Dad. I'm coming home. The FBI rounds up the kidnappers like cattle. Barry Keenan gets sentenced to life, though he'll serve far less. Joe Amsler and John Irwin face their own justice. During the trial, Frank Jr. testifies with his head held high, showing the same steel spine that runs in the Sinatra bloodline. But the scars run deep.
How Frank Sr. becomes obsessed with security, surrounding his family with bodyguards and protocols. He develops an almost supernatural awareness of danger, a sixth sense that never quite lets him rest. The loose change habit sticks. For 40-plus years until his death in 1998, Frank Sinatra carries coins in his pocket. Reporters ask about it. Friends wonder. He always gives the same answer: to remember. To remember the night when all the fame and fortune in the world meant nothing. When the only performance that mattered wasn't on a stage but in a hotel room, fighting for his child's life. When he learned that sometimes you have to walk away from the spotlight to find what really matters. Frank Jr. emerges stronger from the ordeal. He builds his own career, steps out of that massive shadow, becomes his own man. I'm proud to be a Sinatra, he tells reporters years later, but I'm my own kind of Sinatra.
The incident changes the family forever.
Go.
They grow closer, more protective, more aware of how precious and fragile their bond really is. The man who sang about doing it my way learns that sometimes the only way is the family way. Years pass. Decades. Frank ages from the swaggering crooner to the elder statesman of American music.
Hey.
He wins awards, sells millions of records, cements his legacy as one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. But every time he reaches into his pocket and feels those coins, he remembers. Remembers the night when being Frank Sinatra wasn't enough, when being a father was everything. Because here's the truth, they don't teach you in show business. The spotlight is seductive. The applause is addictive. The fame is intoxicating. But none of it, not one bit of it, matters when the people you love are in danger. Frank Sinatra left the stage that December night in 1963, and in doing so he gave his greatest performance of all. Not as an entertainer, but as a man, not as a star, but as a father. The show didn't go on that night, and that's exactly how it should have been. So what do you think? Was Frank's desperate middle-of-the-night fight to save his son more powerful than any song he ever sang? Does this story change how you see the legend behind the legend? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you love these deep dives into the untold stories behind America's greatest icons, hit that subscribe button. Because the real stories, the ones that happen when the curtain falls, are always the most powerful of all.